What was the communications and transit section? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Natalie Hilen, and welcome to UNOG Library and Archive special video on the communications and transit section. Sometimes simply called the transit section, the communications and transit section covered all the technical questions relating to communications and transport. It fused with the economic and financial section to become Form II in 1939 and moved to Princeton following the outbreak of World War II. Through this section, the League wanted to ensure freedom of transit by road and air and the freedom of postal transit. We're going to explore how they did this through the medium of passports, safety at sea, the reform of the calendar, and wireless communications. To start off with passports. Passports and visas has existed roughly since the beginning of the 20th century, but they varied from country to country, and this could cause problems. In fact, several organizations contacted the League asking for their support in establishing and supporting a passport system and reforming the visa system in the face of travel restrictions imposed by several countries. The 1922 conference in Graz, Austria, which attempted to establish a uniform model of passport, establish all types of visa, and simplify formalities at borders. Several passport conferences were held under the auspices of the League, and the result was the example passport you see on the screen in front of you. It's quite similar to the ones we have today, barring several modifications, including the inclusion of a full-color photograph. But passports weren't the only way the League wanted to reform the transit section. They also quite considered with safety of transit. More specifically, the Advisory and Technical Committee for Communications and Transit was very preoccupied with ensuring the safety of passengers, crews, and ships at sea. While several reforms had been put in place, these were on a country-to-country basis following maritime disasters, such as the sinking of the Titanic in 1912. On the 27th of June, 1924, the International Shipping Conference adopted a resolution regarding safety at sea, part of which involved in the adoption of uniform standards by every maritime country. This was reached using several reports provided by the transit section, such as you can see on the screen in front of you. One by the International Hydrographic Bureau, which was a summary of data on safety of life at sea and life-saving. Another was the Subcommittee for Ports and Maritime Navigation, providing a report on safety at sea. Transit by sea wasn't the only form of transit that interested the League. They were also interested in transit by road. Their draft convention with respect to international motor traffic of 1925 had a list of approved danger signals in the annexes. And every contracting state was obliged to ensure that only these signals were displayed by the roadside. You can see these on screen. They're basically the same ones we use today, just symbols, no words. The convention also established the use of license plates for cars with letters indicating the country. The League also wanted to put in place a system of international motor driving license. In the end, they decided it was not possible to implement this and instead focused on modifying the provisions of the Convention of 1909 on road traffic. The 1909 Convention on Road Traffic established an international road certificate, but the League felt this had to be divided into two distinct documents, valid separately for the vehicle and the driver. You'd see one of these examples on the screen in front of you. It's basically the forerunner to our modern driver's license. In the end, the 1931 Convention on Road Signals resulted in the adoption of a convention concerning the unification of road signals and a convention on the taxation of foreign motor vehicles. As the communications and transit suggests, the transit section wasn't just about ensuring the freedom of transit, but also the freedom of communications. And part of this involved the putting in place of a new international calendar. The League sent out a request of people of every country to put forward proposals of calendars. In the end, the League received about 130 proposals, 2 of which you can see on screen right now. In the end, the one that won was called the International Fixed Calendar, and it was selected by the League, but it failed to win final approval in 1937. But while this reform was ultimately unsuccessful, the League was much more successful in the establishing of wireless communications. In 1930, it established a shortwave wireless radio station in Geneva to enable it to communicate independently with the greatest possible number of states, and also for the purpose of ensuring independent communications for the League in times of emergency. As you can see on screen, the convention was between the Secretary General of the League and Radio Suisse, which was a wireless telegraph and telephone company based in Bern, Switzerland. The document next to it is the 1939 report on the statistics for the wireless station. As you can see, it ultimately grew very successful and had several programs. In conclusion, while there were successes and failures, we can ultimately say that the communications transit section was very successful in ensuring freedom of transit and freedom of communications. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and check out the links in the description.